Before we explore the science, I'd like you to try something with me. Not later. Not after this video. Right now. Close your lips. Take a slow breath through your nose. Then let out a gentle, steady hum for just a few seconds. That's enough. Now, pay attention. Did you notice a faint vibration around your nose, your cheeks, or even deep inside your head? Most people dismiss that feeling without a second thought. It seems too ordinary to matter. But what if that tiny vibration was quietly activating biological systems that researchers have spent years trying to understand? Sometimes the most remarkable discoveries don't come from adding something new to the human body. They come from uncovering abilities that have been there all along. Humming is one of those abilities. It's simple, costs nothing, and almost everyone can do it. Yet modern research has revealed that this familiar sound may influence far more than we once believed. Scientists studying breathing physiology, vibration, and the nervous system have uncovered connections that are both fascinating and surprisingly practical. But this story isn't really about making a sound. It's about what that sound sets in motion. Over the next few minutes, we'll follow that journey step by step, exploring how a simple vibration travels through your body, why certain tissues respond so strongly, and what researchers have discovered about the unexpected relationship between humming and the human brain. But don't assume you've already figured it out, because the first few seconds are only the beginning. The most surprising discoveries appear later, when seemingly ordinary vibrations begin interacting with systems that most people never realize are connected. And that's where this story becomes truly fascinating. To understand why humming has attracted scientific attention, we have to begin with something surprisingly simple: vibration. Every sound you make is a wave moving through the air. But when you hum, those waves don't just travel outward, they also travel inward. The gentle vibrations pass through your throat, your nasal passages, and the air-filled spaces within your skull, creating a unique mechanical effect that researchers have been studying for years. Unlike ordinary speech, humming concentrates much of its energy inside your head. That is why many people notice a soft, buzzing sensation across their face or around the bridge of their nose. It's not your imagination. It's a natural response to sound waves interacting with the structures that surround your nasal cavity. This is where the story begins to get interesting. Scientists have discovered that these vibrations may do far more than simply create a pleasant sensation. As air moves through the nasal passages during humming, it appears to influence important biological processes that are directly connected to breathing, circulation, and communication within the nervous system. What makes this remarkable is that none of it requires expensive equipment, specialized training, or years of practice. It starts with one of the simplest sounds a human body can produce. But vibration is only the first chapter. The real breakthrough came when researchers measured what was happening inside the nasal passages during humming, and the results surprised even experienced scientists. They found that a naturally occurring molecule increased far beyond what anyone expected, opening an entirely new line of research into how something so simple might influence the body in ways that had gone unnoticed for decades. And that single discovery changes everything we'll explore next. So, what was that unexpected discovery? It's centered on a tiny molecule that most people have never heard of, yet your body produces it every single day. It's called nitric oxide. For years, scientists believed its primary role was to help regulate blood flow. But as research expanded, they discovered that this remarkable molecule is involved in far more than circulation. It plays important roles in the respiratory system, the cardiovascular system, and even communication between cells. Here's where humming enters the picture. Inside your nasal passages are hollow spaces called the paranasal sinuses. These structures naturally produce nitric oxide, but under normal breathing conditions, only small amounts mix with the air you inhale. When you begin humming, something changes. The gentle vibration increases the movement of air through these spaces, allowing significantly more nitric oxide to leave the sinuses and travel with each breath. That observation caught researchers by surprise because the increase was far greater than many had expected. Why does that matter? Because nitric oxide isn't simply another chemical in the body. It acts as a biological messenger, helping blood vessels relax and supporting efficient oxygen delivery throughout the body. Researchers are also investigating its role in immune defense and normal respiratory function, making it one of the most studied signaling molecules in modern physiology. But this is only part of the story. If nitric oxide were the only benefit, humming would already be far more interesting than most people imagine. Yet another system responds to those same vibrations, one that influences your heartbeat, your breathing, your digestion, and even how your body responds to stress. And once scientists began exploring that connection, the story became even more fascinating. If nitric oxide explains one part of the puzzle, another remarkable system helps explain why many people describe humming as calming almost immediately. That system is centered around one of the most important nerves in the human body, the vagus nerve. Think of it as a communication highway connecting your brain with many of your major organs. It continuously carries information between the brain, the heart, the lungs, and the digestive system, helping the body adjust to changing conditions throughout the day. Researchers have long been interested in this nerve because of its role in regulating the body's balance between alertness and recovery. When you're under pressure, your body naturally shifts toward a heightened state of readiness. When the challenge passes, the nervous system works to restore a calmer, more stable condition. This is where humming becomes especially interesting. The steady vibration created during humming, combined with slow nasal breathing, appears to stimulate tissues surrounding the vocal tract and encourages the kind of breathing pattern that is commonly associated with relaxation. Researchers have investigated whether this combination may support vagal activity, although exactly how much it contributes can vary between individuals and continues to be studied. What makes this fascinating isn't that humming replaces proven medical treatments. It doesn't. Instead, it demonstrates how something remarkably simple may interact with natural physiological systems that your body already uses every day. But the story becomes even more compelling when researchers begin looking beyond individual molecules and nerves. Because once humming continues for more than a few moments, measurable changes have been observed in breathing patterns, heart activity, and brain function, raising an even bigger question. What actually happens inside your body during the first 60 seconds of humming, second by second? That's exactly what we'll explore next. Let's take a closer look at what happens after humming continues beyond those first few moments. By now, your breathing has usually become slower and more rhythmic. Instead of taking short, shallow breaths, your body naturally begins settling into a steadier pattern. That change alone can influence several physiological systems at the same time. One of the most noticeable effects is on your heart. Your heart doesn't beat with perfectly equal timing. In healthy individuals, the tiny intervals between heartbeats constantly change in response to signals from the nervous system. Scientists refer to this natural variation as heart rate variability, or HRV, and has become one of the most widely used indicators of how flexibly the body responds to stress. Interestingly, several studies have reported that slow breathing combined with humming may improve heart rate variability during and shortly after the exercise. While the degree of change differs from person to person, the overall pattern has attracted growing scientific attention because HRV is closely associated with emotional regulation and recovery from everyday stress. But the heart is only part of the picture. As your breathing becomes slower and more controlled, your brain also receives continuous feedback from the respiratory system. Rather than working independently, the lungs, heart, and brain are constantly exchanging information through an intricate network of nerves and biological signals. This is why a simple humming exercise can feel surprisingly calming without requiring complete silence or advanced meditation techniques. However, researchers soon realized that the most intriguing changes weren't occurring in the heart at all. They were beginning to appear inside the brain itself. And when scientists started measuring brain activity before and after humming, they uncovered findings that opened an entirely new chapter in understanding this remarkably simple practice. When scientists began examining the brain during and after humming, they discovered something that made this simple habit even more intriguing. Your brain is constantly producing tiny electrical patterns known as brain waves. These patterns change depending on what you're doing. They shift when you're solving a difficult problem, having a conversation, falling asleep, or simply relaxing. The question researchers wanted to answer was straightforward. Could humming influence those patterns? Several small studies suggest that slow humming combined with controlled breathing may encourage an increase in brain activity commonly associated with a calm but alert mental state. Rather than making the brain less active, it appears to help it operate with greater balance, allowing relaxation without sacrificing awareness. That may explain why many people report feeling mentally clearer after just a few minutes of humming. But the brain isn't only changing electrically. Researchers are also exploring how humming may indirectly support attention and memory by combining several physiological effects at once. Steadier breathing, improved oxygen exchange, increased nasal nitric oxide, and greater parasympathetic activity. Together, these responses may create conditions that support efficient brain function, although scientists continue to investigate exactly how these mechanisms interact. Perhaps that's why humming has appeared in so many cultures throughout history. Long before laboratories could measure brain activity or signaling molecules, different traditions had already incorporated sustained vocal sounds into daily practices for relaxation, reflection, and mental focus. While their explanations differed, modern science is beginning to investigate whether some of those long-observed experiences have measurable biological foundations. But if humming is this simple, an important question remains. Are most people actually doing it correctly? Because according to researchers, a few small adjustments may determine whether you experience only a pleasant vibration or unlock the full physiological response we'll explore next. By now, one thing should be clear. Humming isn't about creating the perfect note or sounding musical. The research suggests that its potential benefits come from combining three simple elements: steady breathing, gentle vibration, and consistency. So, how should you actually do it? The process is surprisingly straightforward. Find a comfortable place where you can sit or stand without unnecessary tension. Let your shoulders relax and allow your breathing to settle naturally. Then inhale slowly through your nose, filling your lungs without forcing the breath. As you exhale, close your lips and produce a smooth, comfortable hum. Don't strain your voice or search for a particular pitch. The goal isn't volume, it's steady vibration. You should feel a gentle buzzing sensation around your nose, cheeks, or lips. That sensation is a sign that the sound waves are resonating through the tissues of your upper airway. When your breath naturally ends, pause briefly before taking another slow nasal breath and repeating the process. Most researchers who have studied humming have used sessions lasting several minutes rather than just a few seconds. The important point isn't perfection, it's regular practice. Like many healthy habits, consistency appears to matter more than intensity. It's also important to keep realistic expectations. Humming is not a cure for disease, nor should it replace medical care or prescribed treatment. Instead, think of it as one small practice that may support your body's normal physiological functions alongside a healthy lifestyle. And that may be the most remarkable part of all. One of the simplest sounds you can make has inspired decades of scientific research. Not because it's mysterious, but because it encourages us to look more closely at the extraordinary biology that has been inside us all along. But before we finish, there's one final lesson that goes far beyond humming itself. Perhaps the most important lesson isn't about humming itself. It's about how easily we overlook the extraordinary abilities of the human body. We often assume that meaningful improvements must come from expensive technology, complicated routines, or the latest health trend. Yet time and again, scientific research reminds us that some of the most fascinating biological processes begin with things we already do every day: breathing, moving, sleeping, and in this case, humming. That doesn't mean every claim you hear online is true. Good science is built on careful testing, repeated observations, and a willingness to question its own conclusions. While many findings surrounding humming are encouraging, researchers continue to study exactly how these physiological responses work and why they vary from one person to another. And that's an important distinction. Science rarely offers magic. Instead, it offers understanding. It helps us see familiar experiences through a completely different lens, revealing that even the simplest actions can involve remarkably sophisticated biology. So, the next time you catch yourself humming, whether you're driving, cooking, walking, or simply relaxing, remember that your body is doing far more than producing a pleasant sound. Behind that gentle vibration is an intricate network of breathing mechanics, neural communication, and physiological responses that scientists are still working to fully understand. Now I'd like to hear from you. Have you ever noticed yourself humming naturally during moments of relaxation or concentration? Or will today be the first time you intentionally try it? Share your experience in the comments. I read them all, and I'd love to know what you notice. If you enjoy exploring the science behind everyday habits, there's much more to discover. The human body is full of hidden mechanisms that quietly shape how we think, move, and feel. And in our next video, we'll uncover another one of nature's remarkable designs. Until then, stay curious, keep learning, and take good care of yourself.